This is Birmingham. It's known as Britain's second city, slap bang in the middle of the country. But you'd never know it really. If you're a child here, you're more likely to be Muslim than any other religion. And 20% of people don't even speak English. With a population of 4.3 million people, this is little Bangladesh. Surrounded by mosques, covered women, and Urdu being spoken as the most common language. It's easy for a white woman like myself to feel pretty unwelcome. Birmingham is at the centre of a national scandal. There's an almighty battle underway, and it's a war that's being fought in an unlikely location, right here at these school gates of this small primary school in a deprived suburb of the city.
Let kids be kids! Let kids be kids!
This program is very toxic. Not only do we are aiming to have it abolished in this school, but we're going to have it abolished in every school in Birmingham, every school in the country, and that's going to happen.
So this is the headmistress of the school, Anderton Park Primary. She teaches a programme called No Outsiders. It's about tolerance, it's about inclusivity, it's taught to 4-year-olds, and it says it's okay to be LGBTQ, it's okay if Julian wants to become a mermaid, and it's okay that 2 male penguins are raising a chick of their own. Now, the Muslim parents are not happy about No Outsiders. They have been protesting for 7 weeks outside the school gates saying it's not okay to be gay. But the school is not backing down. Now, they were joined in the protest by the LGBTQ massive. It's Pride Month. They just had Birmingham Pride, so they're all super sure of themselves at the moment. They're protesting that it's okay to be gay. And this is all happening outside of a primary school where 4-year-olds are trying to go to school. We shall see what happens next. The protesters have been here outside this school protesting for about 7 weeks now, so much so that the school has now got an injunction saying the protesters aren't allowed anywhere near here. If you're inside the red area, which they've marked out, it's basically a perimeter around the school, you must not organise a protest, you must not invite anyone else to be part of your protest, you must not print or hand out leaflets about a protest, you must not congregate. It also says you must not use social media to make abusive comments about the staff. If you do any of these things, you may be arrested and brought before a High Court judge who could send you to prison, fine you, or seize your assets. Do you mind if I ask you, we were just talking about the protests, things the children are learning and whether you agree with it?
The main issue is the age.
The age, exactly. I've heard this said.
4 and 5, they're too young. They should be consulted. There were no consultations, that's the first thing.
If they don't talk, if they don't talk to us, we take into the European court here. We're not stopping down anyway. So I mean, we're going to the last moment.
Every single one of the parents I've met is a Muslim individual, super open to conversation, not at all being shut down or anything, really happy to engage, but they are very clear the school has not consulted with them, they will not be backing down. This isn't really just about LGBTQ, it doesn't matter what people do in their own homes, they don't want it being taught to their 4-year-olds in schools, and you know what? I totally agree with them. Some Muslim parents, like this lady, are backing the school, but they feel bullied by the Muslim protesters.
Katie, the problem is this, right? It's like a cult. People chanting on the corner for 8 weeks. They are trying to implement their rules, their regulations.
Yeah.
They removed their children on the week of stats, Katie. On the week of stats, they didn't have no regard for how this was going to affect their children. Do you know what it is? If you're either on their side, you're all right. And if you're not on this side, you're not all right.
This is a problem that's incredibly awkward for the left. The left want to be endlessly tolerant of Islam, but the left also want to be the home for all things LGBT. Which side do they choose? The Muslims or the rainbow-coloured parade? I went to meet with Shakil Afsar, who is the leader of the school protests, to find out his perspective. Tell us about the protests, how they've been organised, the sorts of things that have happened.
I think with the protests, we've been very peaceful. Naturally, we have chanted certain slogans like "Let kids be kids," and that is just a purpose to open up dialogue and to raise awareness amongst the other parents. We should be allowed to exercise the right and allowed to teach our children in conformity with our religious and philosophical convictions.
Parents have come to realise that for some years their children have been taught about sexuality that do not conform to our traditional family values, particularly on gay and lesbian relationships. And they've started at the age of 4. The children would then come to accept these as an acceptable sexual relationship to have.
The school who teach these lessons on sexuality and use books that show 2 male parents or whatever, the school have said they will not stop those lessons. Is that fair to say?
I've never asked the school to push our narrative. If anything, we've said, listen, strip the school of any community's narrative and teach humanity. Somebody needs to hold the head teacher accountable because she's actively, vigorously has some sort of agenda. When they're asking us to come and asking us to morally accept and verbally affirm that being a certain type of way is okay when that's contradictory to what we believe, then we feel that's their view being infringed on us. And another thing with this particular head teacher, she's using our children as her soldiers, as her pawns, because she's telling them actually our children are coming home and saying, "Mommy, Daddy, the head teacher said the protesters are mad."
So I dare you challenge us when we come there to speak on behalf of our children.
There have been 600 children withdrawn on one day. Clearly, if 600 children are withdrawn from the school, it's clear that the majority of parents do support this. Is this injunction that is attempting to silence my voice? And I'm afraid our voice will not be silenced. The council and the school are on a losing battle. This goes to the core of our morality and is part of our family morals.
Let me ask you, what happens next?
Well, we are going to carry on protesting, these are our children that are at stake for it and their morality.
A lot of them are being started up by mothers.
Yes.
You know, mothers, because
of all different religions or none.
Yeah,
Mother,
yes.
and really, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
the fathers are really active, but I find this actual movement is by the mothers.
The majority children in these schools are of a background that has a conservative family values, and we're not intimidated.
No.
Whereas a lot of parents do feel threatened and intimidated to speak out.
Coming for you, for sure.
Oh yes.
Because this is how this goes. I mean, we've had, obviously someone like me has had experiences at the other end, I suppose, or on whatever spectrum. They keep coming at you.
Even if we're the only people standing, we will still be there.
See, this is me too. This is
Yeah.
interesting.
And we will stand, because the fact of the matter is we will stand for any
Because it's the truth. We are. In fact, this is why we're so open, because we have nothing to hide.
But I so agree with your thing. When you talk there about these are our truths, and we will not budge from our truth, and it doesn't matter what they have to do to us, they won't silence us.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
so many of us that could relate. If you just take that as how we feel, that's how so many people
I'm prepared
feel.
to lose everything and go to prison. The LGBT community have politicized it. They've jumped in like a heavy horse and trampled and literally ignored the community's concerns. We are not against anybody. We are just for our children.
It's so surprising how well we all get along. You know, we have so much in common. We are all parents at the end of the day, and we want to have some kind of control over what our children are being taught. And I came here thinking this was a straight falling out between LGBTQ and Muslim parents, but it's so much more complicated than that. There's some decent people who just want to say in what their kids are taught. There's a more militant faction who are really demanding people join in the protests. And then there's a school stubbornly saying that they won't budge on their position. And even a government advisor that came in to try and sort the problem out got scared and ran away. Listening to these guys, it's very clear this problem isn't going away. The left may not want to talk about it because it falls, where do they go? Do they go LGBT? Do they go Muslims? Where do we go? They may not want to talk about it, but this is not going away. This is going to be a nationwide movement, and it's coming to a school near you very soon.